Hello, Ender Sword here again, this time with Game 7 of our matchup between exioN and SCA. Tozu just took that game off Panda Bear, and we are now at 3-3 in the series. Adrenaline still pumping through our Terran player, Tozu here. He is up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, and our Protoss player is in the bottom right-hand corner. I guess he played Maximus Black at some point and got really excited about that. We are here up on Ohana for this match in Game 7. Very tight series here so far. Obviously, both teams at 3 wins apiece, so we'll have to see how this does develop. Talking about, I guess, a little BM from Mr. Maximus Black earlier. I don't know. He always seems so nice, but then you hear little things. I think half the time he just does stuff, obviously, to amuse his viewers and so on. And I always love watching him as well. Pretty good guy. I got to meet him at NASL 3 when it was here in Toronto. Really nice guy. Certainly not BM at all in person. I never really see him be BM on the ladder anyway, but definitely an extremely nice guy in person. We were holding like a party afterwards, an after party, and we had asked people to register online for it ahead of time so that we'd have enough room, and he didn't know he was going to be there up until like the day or two before NASL, and he kind of approached me like fairly meekly, like, hey, you know, is there room in this, or like would it be okay? I don't want to, like, you know, pull rank, or like, you know, basically not thinking that people knowing who he was would do him any good. And I, of course, let him know, no, of course, we want you there. We want someone like that there that people will recognize and have fun with. So a really nice guy. Stopped and talked to pretty much everyone all weekend, which was excellent. We get the little attack on the beginning supply depot going down, and just a little harassment there. But the Marine coming out will certainly put an end to that. Can he actually pick off the probe itself? And no, getting away with minimal life there, 4 hit points remaining for our Protoss probe. Here going for the 1 gas mining here. Cybercore just finishing and going for a Zealot first. You do see a lot of people kind of skipping that these days, instead going straight for the Stalker, and as we saw in one of the previous games, actually I believe the first game, double gas there on the base, but opting not to do that, instead for more of a, I guess what used to be a little bit more of a standard build, but you do see a lot of Protoss players going for the additional gas early on in this. And sorry, let me just throw those up as well. A big worker lead here so far for the Protoss, but obviously that is just due to the conversion time for the orbital command, and maybe cutting a little to get the command center out, so we can expect to see that smooth out a bit. Particularly as the mothership core comes out, it is one thing that does cut into the probe production time, whereas that didn't used to be the case for the Protoss player. This command center will certainly be done well before the Nexus. Zealot and Stalker coming up to take a few pokes around, does delay that bunker, manages to pick off one of the workers, and seeing if he can go after, yeah, a Marine there. Maybe not worth it for the second poke back up. But with the mothership core coming in as well, he may take another look into this situation. But there is a bit of hull damage here on the Stalker, and as that bunker does finish, obviously that will put an end to that sort of little harassment. 2 more barracks coming in behind this, and we do have the Terran player now mining off of 2 gases, although still only 1 SCV in the second at this point. Just now a reactor going on to the first barracks, and we get the factory going down as well. So it's going to be quite some time before we have anything like stim out for our Terran player. So you can't I wouldn't expect any real like early aggression or anything here. Mothership coming in again, just trying to be annoying, gets 1 kill on that SCV. You've got it, you might as well poke around with it and use it a little bit. It's a slow little piece of crap, but you can kind of get away with it as long as you stick around these ledges. You're not going to get ambushed by a lot of Marines. Can Doesn't quite finish that one off, but doesn't want to chase too far into here. If he does get a couple Marines coming in below that, then it can get picked off, and that's obviously not something he's going to want to see here. Time warp, interesting time warp there. Wants to make sure that he can get out in time, but that's not going to be a problem. And Immortal coming out, you do see a lot of this now as well because of the Mothership Core. The fact that you can get extra scouting out of it, the fact that it does have that photon overcharge, you can be a lot safer with less units. You can be a little more certain that you're going to be all right because you can just use that photon overcharge on your Nexus, on your expansion, and you're not going to get rushed with a lot of units or anything like that. One extra on the assimilator here. I'm sure he'll see that all in good time. Widow Mines coming out to be a bit defensive, and a couple Hellions out there as well that'll probably go rove around a little bit. This is probably largely just to kind of get, I don't know if you totally get like map control with them, since a single stalker is not going to have too much problems, but it is out, it is just minerals to get them. Maybe give you a little bit of extra scouting and go after maybe probes trying to put down anything like proxy pylons. The Observer coming in now. A lot of people haven't, I don't know if adapted is the right word, but they haven't really been using the early sentries necessarily, with hallucination being free. I've been trying to work in to my own game just using the Phoenix for the early scouting, but a lot of people still going for that Observer as well, particularly in the TVP matchup, because you do very often still want to be going robo anyway, so they do get that out for the more permanent observation. Obviously, you're getting the Immortal, the Colossus as well. It's kind of nothing to get that out and get a good look at what is going on with the Terran, and hopefully get that down a little more permanently, so there are two observers out there on the map. Getting two Forges now as well, so going for the double upgrade path, and throwing a Stargate in behind here, clearing out these rocks, basically at the same point that the Terran player is thinking of throwing down a third up here, and it does have the minerals to do it, so as soon as he gets a second, I can expect that to be going down. I'm seeing a lot of this lately as well, whereas where you're just getting the one medevac out instead of immediately, say, firing down a reactor on this. At some point, he may switch these out with one of the barracks to get a reactor on that as well, or to build his own. But instead going just for a second medevac now consecutively, instead of going right for that to get two in a row. A little bit of a pickup there. Yeah, just the two mines. So he's going to come in and try and be a little bit annoying with those. I've been seeing a few players, even though they really only want to drop the few mines, also loading in a couple medevacs as well, almost to provide cover, so that even if you do get spotted, the mines have enough time to actually burrow into location. They don't actually get picked off there unless you really are able to target them down. But he's going to be okay here right now. He will get these down before the photon cannon is up, but they obviously won't be able to stay there very long. Doing not optimal damage there, may not have been great, but does realize, okay, that's going down. I've got to get out of there before those get cleared out off by the cannon. It's better than nothing, certainly, to poke in there, and the mines are something that are kind of just useful all over the place. They can just pick off a unit later on. It's hard for a mine not to be at least a bit cost effective. Even if it picks off like a single stalker a little later on in the game, that's going to be quite useful. If it gets even just vision, or makes the Protoss player delay even a little bit, that's going to be useful as well. Clearing out the rocks there to get a little better access to his third base, and adding on a couple of barracks here. Not continuing on with upgrades from this one, but yeah, there's the second engineering bay right behind, going to add on the armor as well. Our Protoss player is now looking at almost completed +1 with +2 starting on the way. He may start +2 armor. There it goes. at the same time there, and his third is now up and running at around the same time that our Terran player's third is really getting up and functioning as well. You've got the bio now sitting around with some of those initial Hellions turned into Hellbats to serve as a bit more of a wall against the Zergling, or not the Zergling, the Zealot onslaught there that will hit the front. That's certainly a bit of a change dynamic that you can actually afford to tank that down a tiny little bit. Instead of just completely running from charge lots, you can do some initial damage, splash damage with the flames in front to try and clear out those numbers. You don't always have to just go back immediately. A drop here at the third, picking off a few workers and getting almost that pylon down. Not quite, not too crucial to get that at that point, although it would have certainly supply blocked their player. He's on that edge anyway where he's not able to build any additional units at this point. Terran kind of stimming in to take a poke here, sending a Marauder. Does actually manage to pick off a probe and sees these little phoenixes deciding to pick him up and kill him. Getting underneath a couple of those, does manage to take a couple out and catches this army coming down the ramp. The Colossus, being very brave, kind of led the way in this, and there's not a lot of bulk or zealots down here, but with good force fields going down, these Colossus are just going to make short work of this. There's no real anti-air here. There's nothing to take out the Phoenixes. There's nothing to take out those Colossus. Just kind of going in bare against that large number, you're not going to be able to stem forward and just clear them out or anything like that. And that does turn into a bit of a bad engagement for Tozu, who is now adding on some Vikings behind this as well, with 2 out and 3 in production. But the harm here is that the medevac count is not really there with this now. So when he does re-engage, sure, he's going to be doing better against the Colossus, but the bio army isn't going to be as durable here. And at the same time, we've got the Storm Switch coming for our Protoss player, as well as a fourth base being added down. He definitely feels that there is some breathing room there. So while the supply is still in the favor of our Terran player, this doesn't feel like the type of force that can really be engaging at this point. A small detachment going off. This is usually the type of thing you'd kind of want to pick up and have be going in a medevac, but they are just running off on their own due to the lack of medevacs that are out there. It does make the army swing back to deal with this. The Zealots coming in are, of course, going to distract that fire. Phoenix coming in, picking a few things up, and just being annoying, just making sure that he can't actually pick this Nexus off or anything. Does see that there are now High Templar out onto the field, trailing this army and being all slow and magic or whatever they are. Still have the Hellbats kind of coming out with this. It's definitely something that's being mixed into the Terran army a lot more. With a good number of Vikings out, 5 is probably not... You don't want as many Vikings as there are Colossus. It's just not really going to do the job quickly enough. That this Bioforce is probably in a bit of trouble if that is the case, if there's just not more of these, but has to decide. There's only these 3 medevacs. We definitely want higher numbers than that at this point, and is adding on the Vikings instead of a medevac count. Ideally, obviously, he would have liked to save a lot more of these and be more at like 5, 6, 8 medevacs and just adding on the Vikings as necessary. But we've got a Protoss player that just has the Colossus count out and is now switching into Archon, Storms, still has Phoenix out providing cover. You've got to get through those really before you're effectively able to go after the Colossus as well. If he tries to ignore them, they're just going to pick these off. They're quite decent against the anti-air. They just kind of get in the way. Massive storms going down here on the army. Just not splitting enough. There's really nothing to do here. Trying to stem forward, seeing if he can get any of these Colossus out. But one finally dies, and obviously just not cost efficient here. The stems not being able to be healed up by this low count of medevacs. these Vikings ultimately trying to go after the last couple of Colossus, get the last hit on that one. Does a decent job at bringing those numbers down, but there are still 2 more on the field, a third one coming out. And despite the fact that the supply is looking still to be in Terran's favor, I think it's just coming down to composition here, that we just don't have enough healing in the Terran army, and the Viking numbers just feel a little late, that they're coming out at a point that these Colossus are supposed to have already been erased off the map, and now our concern is really more the storms, the Archons, things like that, which are going to provide the problems, and he's just going to have trouble actually preventing this type of base from really going up here or anything like that. But still, we do have a large number of units coming out onto the map here. There's a lot of gas banked up for our Terran player, if not the minerals. But of course, being a Terran, the minerals are very often easy to come by. We can see that there's a lot of energy left on these orbitals, so as necessary, he can drop a lot of mules in this 4th base location to catch up, and we definitely see that going now as the minerals do start to come up, and he can spend that. So it's certainly a better situation than being down on gas, but as the supplies even up, the bases kind of even up, a 5th going down here. I just feel, I guess, the tech level of this Protoss and the composition that he's at right now is allowing him to continue with this Colossus production while getting the Archon production, while still having these storms out there. At this point in the game, you kind of want those cleared out so that the Protoss has to decide, well, do I bother making one more Colossus again because he's got like 6 Vikings out and I have none? But when you've got 2 or 3, yeah, definitely it makes sense to continue to add to that count, because it's going to take some time to go through them. Whereas if you got 1, well, it's going to get one-shotted. There's no point in kind of making it. Some EMPs going down here, but yeah, that one finally doing a good amount of damage on the mothership core, so he doesn't get time warped in or anything. But ultimately, there's a lot of bulk here. There's a lot of AoE coming in from both the Archons and the Colossus behind. The Vikings all get picked off. There's a good contingent of ghosts here, but once you're ghosts against Colossus, that's certainly not a place you want to be in. The Protoss is walking in here, walking into the 3rd base area, and Tozu starting to type. Something tells me he's looking to get a little out of this game, and yeah, saying he's having a few FPS problems, but yeah, I think they're just, while the game continued on for quite some time, I think about halfway through this, when there were a lot of Colossus left, was the real turning point here, when there just weren't enough Vikings out in time, or really any Vikings out, and then the hard switch into them made him skimp on the medevac. You got to keep that production up on both, and it would have actually been hard for Tozu to do during this game and actually keep adequate numbers on both. And it just gave the Protoss player a lot of flexibility to be switching between Templar, Archon, and Colossus throughout that, not relying a lot on large numbers of charge lots, which is interesting. Instead, having these tanky Archons up in front with just a smaller number of those zealots there, which are, of course, somewhat weak to the Hellbats, while these are a little less susceptible. So taking that game, the series is now 4-3 for SCA, hopping into Game 8 now. Stay with us.